Hello to the chicos, hello to the chicas. In today's video we are going to analyze a student game. This is my student's rock, and this time on the menu is going to be the Englund Gambit between two 1600 rapid rated players on chess.com. That's as much as I could drum up for introduction, so without further ado, let's dive in and let's tackle this abomination of an opening, which is known to be the Englund. In my club players d4 repertoire chessable course, I absolutely demolish this opening like it deserves to be, and my student here follows more or less the right idea, but not quite, as you are just about to see. So after d6 we are meant to play knight f3 indeed, and after knight c6, which is typically the more common move that they play here, and then it's either queen e7, which is just tragically bad, or d6, which is also pretty bad. Here we get to play the key idea, which is bishop g5. Now I don't know if my student forgot this. I would say no, because he played it next move, or got confused with two things. And here I would like to stress a very, very important concept when you learn openings. It is especially true about the first 0 to 10 moves. In no opening that you play should you not be able to explain yourself the move you are playing. So if the move you are making doesn't make sense to you in a way that you cannot explain, then you need to stop, reflect, and relearn, because in that case you memorize the completely abstract thing that doesn't make any sense to you and you're going to forget. Now the reason why I put that forward here, because and that's not necessarily the best way to present this whole situation, but here my student played knight c3. Now in a way it makes sense, but I think he got mixed up, because this is our move against knight c6, knight f3, queen e7, and then knight c3. And the reason why I recommend this move in my course is because it's easier to remember than bishop f4, and easier to understand too, because knight c3 develops the knight and threatens to jump into d5 to hit the queen and the c7 pawn with a very sexy double attack. And so I think that we may have got confused here in the game, and we played knight c3 without actually remembering, or rather understanding, ouchie, what we were supposed to remember. Now the reason why it's not that great is because these endgame scenarios that lower rated players love to jump into because, oh, black can't castle, are actually not that good. And the reason why it is the case is because the black king can almost always hide away on c6 and king c7. And that move also happens to cancel out the power of the knight about 70%. So even if I go check and check to score a lot of tempi, and it feels like white is making a lot of progress and gaining momentum, not at all. Not at all. First of all, now it's difficult to find a sensible square for the bishop. And even if I did, after c6, e4, king c7, I am not even sure which color I would prefer to play this endgame with. But suffice to say that white has absolutely no advantage to speak of whatsoever. The knight is absolutely useless. The d5 control is irrelevant because we can't really create threats there. And black is going to catch up. Bishop c5 and then either knight e7 or knight h6, knight f7. And black has absolutely no problem. So do not overestimate this queen trade scenario. It very often also occurs, by the way, in some other e4 move orders like here. And again, best here in my opinion by far is to go back to Philidor rather than taking this and celebrate the fact that the king can't castle anymore. Doesn't want to castle, so that's not really a big accomplishment. Anyway, that was a big detour. So my student here erroneously played knight c3, but thankfully our opponent played bishop f5. A typical gambit mentality, by the way, by black, that they really want us to take on d6 and develop their bishop. They are not interested in taking on e5 themselves, allowing the queen departing. But now my student went like, yeah, this is it, bishop g5, and this is the key idea that defeats the whole concept. Although I must admit that bishop f5 very handily walked headfirst into e4, which also would be a very good move here. But bishop g5 is the key idea. This is the move that we should be playing here. So what we are doing here is that we are provoking an unwanted move from black. If it's f6, then after take, the bishop is still blocked in. That's very, very disappointing news for black. Or if bishop e7, then we can take, and now we can even force an isolated pawn on d6 on top of the fact that we have an extra pawn. All of this to be found in my Chessable course, by the way. So, good friend plays bishop g5, f6 takes, and gf back. I don't know why we are getting a thumbs up for this. Knight f6 is a lot healthier looking move, and of course it should have been preferred because gf ruins the structure and takes the square away from the knight. A lot of the time I hear people saying that, oh, I didn't play this because it would pin my knight, to which the only adequate response is the, so what? What's the big deal? Are we going to lose the game because of the pin? No. So it is a lot lesser of an evil to at least take back with the knight and develop a piece than taking back with a pawn, completely destroying the pawn structure and also ruining the knight on g8, which has now only terrible squares to go to. So when you are in an awkward situation, when you feel like you are stuck between a rock and a hard place, you really, really, really should spend time to determine the lesser evil out of the two. It is a key concept and skill in club players' chess to be able to always choose the lesser evil, because they are going to have very serious impacts in the rest of the game, Bishop f4, queen d7, e4, and now we are back at beautiful play, development center, like it's written in my other courses, but also in every chess book. Castles, and here we played another move that I wasn't a very big fan of. However, the best move here requires a little bit of cojones, for the want of a better word, excuse my French, but here we need to realize that we are so far ahead that castling is now not priority. Priority is to play knight d4, centralizing the knight and threatening to damage black's king's defense by forcing them to take with the pawn, after which bishop a6 would come. And if knight e7, then knight d5 can come in. And this is a quite surprising motif, which is that after bishop e4, knight takes f6, we actually win a piece on the double attack. Actually, we trapped the queen even. Yes, we did. So it turns out that there was absolutely zero need to castle. And the plan is to eliminate the knight and then eliminate the other knight and again open the king up before we castle. Very, very strong idea and a mighty testament to the concept of put your pieces in the center. Comparatively, playing queen e2 and castle was very, very timid here. It's not bad at all. In fact, it's a very secure, safe way to play, but as you know, I hate the word safe. Safe is what wins fastest. This is what doesn't win fastest. Right, bishop h6, trade, and we castled queenside. I'm totally fine with this. Kingside castles is good too. This is the super guaranteed way of securing a victory. And after a6, now we are going to step it up a notch. By the way, before we move on, I just would like to ever so gently point out that this is about as good as the England gets, and you should not be playing that absolute garbage of an opening with the black pieces, because if white just spends 5 minutes prep on how to deal with it, then you are going to end in a mess like this with black, where you are worse than material, and neither of those things are fun. But after a6, you are no longer up in material, friends, because my good friend brings on the mighty bishop a6 and goes after that king like crazy. Here, however, another interesting point. Actually, I want to turn this into a test. What move would you play here for white? White to move, how would you proceed? What is the plan? Try to figure out a line or at least a sequence of moves you would like to play behind the white pieces. I'm going to now reveal the big trick. So, student played the second best move in the position, which is the most tempting move, which is rook d5, creating a mate into threat. However, this is not the best move on the board, and the reason for that is because after knight a7, we still need to do a fair bit of lifting to ensure that this is going to result in a mate. The correct way to go about life would have been to go knight d5 first and then bring the rook in from here. The big difference here is that we essentially are going to have an extra attacker. Alright, so for example, bishop e4, knight, rook e1. In this case, it's going to be 2 rooks now joining the party. Okay, I'll give it to you. This one was really, really tricky to calculate. So if you didn't quite get this, then you are forgiven. But this is an absolutely sensational idea. And even better, if let's say they play the same move that they did against rook d5, then now you bring rook d4. And so remember that in the game we went rook d5 and the knight couldn't jump in there. Now both of these pieces assume optimal locations. And so what that's going to translate to is a mighty, mighty difficult defense for black. By the way, I think rook d3 should be okay too here, right? Yes. So that I don't even have c5. So maybe let's go with this. And now there is no defense whatsoever against coming here. And unlike in the game where c6 became a motif, here now we reap the results of knight d5 by check, check, check. That is the point. This was a toughie though, and rook d5 is an easy victory, so I'm still very happy and impressed the way we are playing this. Knight d4, another centralization. Your engine wants to play knight b5 here, which is fair enough. Very strong move. The idea being that after c6, we can just take, and then take c6, and now we have got a new disaster incoming from black's perspective, excuse me. But knight d4 is fine. We are now threatening again a lot of different things. Rook a5, knight b5, the list goes on. They played c6, rook a5, and after queen b7, now white has multiple very, very stylish finishes. We went for the sexiest looking move, but it's not best. So we played queen a7, which did get the brilliancy sign, but in fact the very best move here would have been knight to c6. The idea being that if queen takes, then I take here, and this is carnage, whereas if knight takes, then rook b5 wins on the spot. But queen a7 of course is a super beautiful move, and one should always enjoy carrying out such lovely attacks. Knight c6, and now we are transitioning into a completely winning endgame scenario where we are 18 pawns up. Rook a8, it looks like our knight is in a bit of a pickle, but knight b5 steadies the ship without too many dramas, and student mops the rest of the game up in style, kicking the bishop, getting another pawn, and ultimately evacuating with the knight, and the rest is just a clear-cut mop-up. I'm going to blitz through this because there's not a lot to be said. Beautifully trapping finally the bishop on a2, and indeed that triggered resignation. A very, very nice victory by the 1600 student. Very well played game in terms of principles, in terms of following the opening plans, scoring an 86.8 accuracy rating, by the way, which is very, very impressive. And overall, I was very, very happy with the game. We just needed to tidy up a little bit the opening moves so that we do play bishop g5 here. But other than this, yeah, I think that this game should be a very, very convincing scenario for those who look for a weapon against the Englund Gambit, garbage gambit. This is it, man. That's how you do it. I hope you guys like it. Please don't forget to sub, to like, to leave a comment down below. Please send some love to the student who played this game. He really deserves a shout out. So there is that too. And I'm going to be back with the next video very soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.